Hey Fatal, please, keep me completely anonymous. I am writing this from a burner phone that I bought with cash, and I'll be throwing it into a river the second I hit send on this email. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. About a year ago, her younger sister moved into our guest bedroom because she was getting a divorce and needed a place to get back on her feet. My wife was thrilled to have her close, but within 2 months, her sister and I crossed the line. It started with late-night conversations in the kitchen when my wife was asleep, and it quickly spiraled into a passionate, reckless affair right under my wife's nose. The guilt was eating me alive at first, but the thrill of doing it in our own home, just rooms away from my sleeping wife, turned into an absolute addiction. Eventually, her sister started getting deeply possessive. She began demanding that I leave my wife, threatening to show her the messages, and completely destroy our family if I didn't make a choice. I knew my wife would never forgive either of us, and a public divorce would ruin my reputation, my career, and my relationship with my entire family. I couldn't let her sister control my life. But I also knew I couldn't just tell her to leave without her burning my world down on the way out. So, I decided to make her sister look completely unstable to the entire family. I started intercepting the sister's mail, hiding her keys, and moving her personal belongings into my wife's closet while they were both out of the house. When my wife would find her missing jewelry or clothes in the sister's room, I would gently suggest that the stress of the divorce was causing her sister to act out, steal, and seek negative attention. Then, I took it a step further. My wife's family has a history of severe psychological disorders, and the sister had been on mild medication in the past. I began slipping trace amounts of an over-the-counter sleep aid into her evening tea. It wasn't enough to hurt her, but it made her intensely groggy, confused, and prone to severe sleep-talking and nighttime wandering. During the day, I would recount horrific, completely fabricated arguments we supposedly had the night before, or tell her that she had confessed to doing terrible things while sleepwalking. Because she was genuinely exhausted and chemically altered, she began to entirely doubt her own sanity. She stopped pushing me to leave my wife, because she became totally consumed by the fear that her mind was completely collapsing. The breaking point happened last month. I convinced her sister that she had actively tried to poison our family dog in her sleep, presenting her with a bag of tainted treats I had hidden in her closet. She absolutely broke down, weeping hysterically, and checked herself voluntarily into a long-term psychiatric facility the very next morning. My wife sits on our couch every night now, crying about how tragic it is that her sister lost her mind to the family curse. I sit right next to her, rubbing her back, comforting her, and telling her she did everything she could to save her. Her sister calls me from the facility, begging me not to tell the rest of the family how crazy she is, completely unaware that I am the one who authored her entire reality.
Wow!
Manipulating an entire family's medical history and chemically gaslighting a sibling just to cover up an affair. That is a level of calculating coldness that genuinely makes my skin crawl. Let's move on to the next story. What's up, Fado? Long-time subscriber here. I'm telling you this because I've realized that some people don't just want to break your heart. They want to completely hollow out your soul. 4 years ago, my high school sweetheart and fiancé passed away in a horrific car accident just 2 months before our wedding. I was completely shattered. I spent 2 solid years in a state of absolute, vegetative grief, refusing to leave my house, eat properly, or talk to anyone. The only person who stayed by my side through the entire nightmare was her older brother. He was my rock, helping me clean the apartment, managing my groceries, and sitting with me in the dark for hours while I wept. Over time, our shared trauma turned into a deep, desperate, romantic relationship. We moved in together, and I truly believed we had saved each other from the brink of absolute ruin. But 6 months ago, I accidentally found an old leather-bound journal hidden at the bottom of his tool chest in the garage. I opened it, expecting to find notes about his sister's passing. Instead, I found a detailed chronological log of absolute betrayal. He hadn't started comforting me out of grief. He had been actively sleeping with my fiancée, his own sister, for an entire year before she died. The journal contained graphic descriptions of their secret encounters, along with his intense, twisted jealousy of me. He wrote about how much he despised watching me play the happy couple with her, and how he secretly rejoiced when the accident happened because it meant I could never truly have her. The worst part was his entries after her death. He explicitly stated that his goal was to wait until I was at my absolute lowest point so he could slide into her exact position, effectively taking over her life and inheriting the love I was supposed to give to her. I sat on the cold garage floor for hours, my brain completely short-circuiting. The man I was sharing a bed with, the man I thought was my savior, had been violating my relationship before the tragedy and was actively treating me like a trophy one from his dead sister. I didn't confront him, The anger was too massive. It turned into something entirely calcified and dark. I decided that if he wanted to live out a sick fantasy of replacing his sister, I would let him, but I would turn it into his absolute living hell. I quietly went through our house and began subtly replacing things. I brought out her old perfume, spraying it lightly in the sheets while he was at work. I started buying the exact specific groceries she used to buy, cooking the meals she loved, and mimicking her specific habits, like leaving the kitchen cabinets slightly open, or humming her favorite melodies in the hallway. When the lights were low, I began talking in my sleep, whispering her name, and telling him that she was standing in the corner of our bedroom, watching us in the dark. The psychological toll on him has been terrifyingly rapid. He has developed a severe, twitching insomnia, terrified to close his eyes because the entire house has become a suffocating psychological mirror of the sister he betrayed and lost. He looks at me now with eyes full of absolute dread, constantly asking me why the house smells like her, or why I'm acting so strangely. I just look at him blankly, smile, and tell him I have no idea what he's talking about. He's completely trapped in a house haunted by his own guilt, and I'm going to keep playing the ghost until he completely breaks. That is heavy, genuinely, incredibly heavy. The layers of betrayal in that one are just completely sickening from every single angle. Let's get into the final story for today. Hey Feto, please keep me completely anonymous. I'm an interior designer and a home stager, and my entire job revolves around creating the illusion of a perfect, beautiful life for strangers. 2 years ago, I discovered my husband of 5 years was cheating on me with a 22-year-old yoga instructor. I found out because he accidentally left his personal physical planner on the kitchen counter, which contained detailed dates, hotel reservations, and handwritten notes about their weekend getaways. Instead of screaming, crying, or demanding a divorce, I felt a strange, chilling wave of calm wash over me. I didn't want to lose my beautiful home, my social status, or the financial stability we had built together. I decided that if he wanted a secret, exciting double life, I would become the absolute architect of it. I used my professional resources to quietly lease a small, hidden studio apartment across town under a fabricated corporate name. Over the course of 3 weeks, I meticulously decorated the space to perfectly match the exact aesthetic his mistress loved. Cozy, bohemian, and lit by soft candle colors. Then, I anonymously mailed the keys to my husband's office, with a typed note written from her perspective, inviting him to their new secret sanctuary. He completely fell for it. He assumed she had set it up as a surprise for him, and they began using the apartment multiple times a week, but I had full access to the space. Every Sunday when they were both away, I would visit the apartment. I didn't smash things or leave angry notes. I did things that were far more subtle and deeply disturbing. I began moving their personal items by just a few inches. I would take a framed photo of them and tilt it slightly, or move her favorite hair clips from the bathroom counter into his jacket pockets. I started washing the linens in a very specific, rare herbal detergent that induces mild, subconscious anxiety when encountered in unfamiliar environments. Then, I started leaving tiny signs of a third person. I would leave a single glass of water in the sink that neither of them had poured, or change the temperature settings on the thermostat so that the room was freezing cold whenever they arrived. The psychological decay between them was incredible to watch from afar. My husband began accusing his mistress of playing mind games, while she became completely convinced that he was bringing other women to their secret spot. Their beautiful, forbidden romance completely curdled into a swamp of mutual paranoia, accusations, and constant screaming matches. They couldn't stand being in the room together, because the environment itself felt entirely malevolent and unstable. 2 weeks ago, they had a massive, final blowout argument in the parking lot and broke up permanently. My husband came home that night, completely exhausted, and held me tightly, telling me how grateful he was for my stability and sanity. I just smiled, petted his hair, and told him that I would always keep our home perfectly safe for him. The apartment is still sitting there, completely empty across town. I still pay the lease every month, and sometimes I go sit in that quiet, dark room on the weekends, just admiring the perfect stage I built to completely incinerate his affair from the inside out.